Hail them.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Hailing frequencies. Open.
I don't know why I keep giving alien street food a chance. It's always such a gamble.
Captain, we're being hailed.
On screen.
Hello, and welcome to another Hailing Frequencies Open podcast where we are trekking through the past and future of Star Trek. As always, I'm your host, Mike Jones, and joining me in the Zoom room, we had some chaos on a bridge ourselves driving back from Jersey last weekend. It's Damien.
Hi, Mike Jones. I had such a great time with you in Jersey last weekend, and Lanita. It was like we got to see each other for real in the flesh.
In the flesh, live action, not animated.
Not animated at all. No.
And she is no longer a Star Trek convention virgin. It's Lanita.
I popped my cherry in New Jersey, in Secaucus.
I feel like a lot of people can say that.
Yeah, there are a lot of motels down that Route 3 strip. Boop, boop.
And we are thrilled to have a guest today. It's his second time in the pod, or is it his first time in the pod?
It's his first.
Yes, it's his first. Yes.
It's Eric Ivan Daniels. Welcome back.
The full name.
The full name.
Well, it's funny because we only called you Anna Rozay, right? This is Anna Rozay, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when we exchanged emails, I saw your name, and it's kind of Mike Jones style. I mean, that's a full name.
I like that.
You're the full three names, Eric Ivan Daniels.
I
Welcome.
appreciate you. I feel very official, honey.
Well, you showed up in your uniform. If you're joining us on the audio version, Eric is
the
wearing
audio. You mean the visual version? Oh, you're describing
He's describing it for
Oh,
the audio
legs.
only. Ooh.
Oh, we got legs.
Come
We
to
got a
the
little
visual.
booty earlier.
Come to the visual.
It is, come to the visual because it is the full Encounter at Farpoint, Deanna Troi scant.
Scantly. Oh my gosh.
Moisturized legs.
It is
for your
very.
viewing pleasure.
I lotion just for y'all.
Nice.
For y'all.
I appreciate. I try to tell them about lotion, but they don't.
It keeps you young, okay? Keeps you young and slippery.
Idea how much Nivea with aloe I go through. I buy the full 3 packs. It is my brand.
That doesn't mean you're putting it on your body.
Oh, I don't know that I have some.
She needs to watch me do
I have some coconut oil sitting here. I don't.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
It
All
is
natural.
Good. It's good for the elbows.
Mm-hmm. The knees.
Welcome to our podcast all about moisturization. Do you think it's dry in space? Do you think
Very dry?
Very dry.
It's gotta be, right?
It's gotta be. It's cold, right?
Because they don't
Right.
have it's sonic showers, right? Like not actual water.
Right?
Yeah, I don't understand how that works.
Vibration.
Does it just vibrate the
Dirt.
dirt
off.
off of you?
That sounds
Where
painful,
does it go?
honestly.
But
Doesn't it? Where
doesn't
does it go?
It kind of makes me think of Korean spa scrubs, where it's gonna take that nice top 2 layers of your skin off, and then you're nice
You're
and
just
smooth.
raw.
I love an abrasive
Smooth.
scrub.
Oh, I do it every day. Well, African washcloths. Ooh.
Yes.
Oh,
The
wow.
net sponge. The net sponge.
I'm a fan of every time when you go to Macy's or someplace or Marshall's even, and you go towel shopping, they're trying to outfluff themselves when it comes to selling fluffy towels. This man right here does not want a fluffy towel. Give me the scratchiest,
Abrasive.
sandpaperiest, abrasive towel.
No, I want it to
100%.
be like a cloud.
Mm-mm. No.
Not to
Mike
dry
Jones,
off.
we will never compete for
I'm
towels.
a delicate flower.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
There's no way to transition into our topic for the day out of that. So
I'm just gonna say we're here to talk about.
we are rewinding and looking back at the documentary that was made 10 years ago by William Shatner, Chaos on the Bridge, all about the first 2 years of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Now I watched this as soon as it was streaming. I watched it. I don't know if it went to streaming quickly. But it's been years. It's been years ago since I watched it. And then I rewatched it today. I might have had it on one of my screens at work.
I watched it last night while I
Oh, no
started
one
to take
watches
out
this
my
from
hair.
work.
They'll be
Well,
fine.
and
It's okay.
as we've learned offline, while Mike's workplace burns to the ground, Mike is sitting there watching, sitting there watching chaos
said,
on the bridge on
that's
his monitor.
interesting. I forgot about that plot. Okay, that's good to
I
remember.
was really just listening to it. I could multitask. But
Oh, wait, here's the
yeah.
question, Mike, because you said
Mhm.
you watched it. Like, was it like, did it come out as like a movie and then it went to streaming?
It had a premiere. I remember that. Just like William Shatner's Captain's documentary had the premiere for that one was on the Intrepid in New York, strangely, because I knew someone who went to the premiere. But I'm not sure where this one. But yeah, but it like a lot of these documentaries, I don't think it had a theatrical release, but it had a little PR release. And I think it maybe went to Netflix quickly. I'm not sure. But if you haven't watched it, I recommend pausing us, going and watching it, and then coming back because it is amazing. The entire thing is on YouTube now, so just
Quick
Google.
watch.
It's a
Yeah.
quick watch. It's like an hour, and
Yeah.
it's free on YouTube. It's
And
it's
Right,
and
free on YouTube.
And it's wild how I was like, wait, that's it? Like when it finished, I was like, wait.
Yeah.
There's got to be more.
Like, I want more.
There has to be. What's the story between like season 4, 5, 6, 7? Like, I want to know what's going on those later seasons.
Not even that. I want more detail because
It was very rushed.
It was skirting around like nobody really wanted to say the things that I knew they wanted to say.
Oh, see, I felt it felt pretty dishy. I mean, there were I feel like there were some folks that were kind of like capitalizing on the fact that a lot of the leading players, I mean, Gene Roddenberry is no longer with us, so there was no bridge to be burnt with Gene. But yeah, I felt
especially
like people were saying some shit.
Maurice Hurley, number one.
Oh yeah.
Right. I think it was the last interview he gave. I mean, he passed away not long after that. Like,
oh really?
I think he was just like ready to be like, you know what? Here's the story.
But it's so I want the counterpoint though, because it's like it's so I don't know what order you thought this was going to go in or what, Mike Jones, but I just sorry.
We're free range chickens.
Okay. It was like DC would say something and then they'd counterpoint it with something he would say, and I'd be like, I kind of believe her because he's
100%.
like, like, oh yeah, I was holding to the truth of what Gene actually wanted, even when he didn't. I'm like, sir, this is not yours. Like it,
right.
He doesn't come off smelling like roses, and I guess, but still came off like not as bad as I think it actually was. And maybe that's because Shatner was actually kind of friendly with him. Like,
right.
Like it seemed like he didn't have any animosity towards anybody at this time. But I don't like that dude.
It may be worth pausing just to identify some of the key players here, so that if people are not pausing to go watch the documentary, some of this will still make sense, right? Because this is a William Shatner documentary, and which is kind of funny because there's something about him, like he's really into like sort of stirring up the dirt on the successor series. Do you know what I mean? Where you're like,
right? He didn't make one about the show he did.
No, he certainly didn't. He certainly didn't. He had no problem like getting information out there that might have like made Patrick Stewart look not so great.
Which I'm sorry if that was your goal.
He failed.
Not accomplished.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, you cannot dim that light.
Right. But I think some of the key players that we heard from, right? Yes. We heard from Dorothy Fontana, aka DC Fontana. Right. Who was one of the big writers on the original series, and she was the showrunner on the animated series. And we heard from David Gerrold, who wrote Lanita's favorite episode, famously, Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah.
favorite of
And
all
More Tribbles, More
time.
Troubles for the animated series.
Oh, that's
which I
right.
just love that title. More
Yes.
Tribbles, More Troubles.
And we heard from Maurice Hurley, who ended up sort of winning the writers' battle in the first season and was the head writer for
the
season
show, yeah.
2, right? And we heard from Jean's secretary slash
mistress.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I said, now that
Susan
was
Sackett.
messy.
He was having affairs with everybody.
I mean, I think he was just like of the 60s, free love, baby.
Yes.
Free love. Okay.
Yeah, it feels very free love. Yes.
Okay.
And the fact that people were willing to talk about his heavy drug use and drinking.
That was crazy. Yeah.
And that his wife would send him to rehab, it sounded like every weekend.
Yep. Gotta dry him out.
Drain him out. Yeah, dry him out.
I was like, okay.
His wife, meaning Majel Barrett Roddenberry.
Majel Barrett.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Like-
Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to throw that around casually.
We heard from my favorite. No, you're not gonna.
Oh, Denise Crosby?
Oh.
Yeah, Denise Crosby was lovely. We love Denise Crosby.
Lieutenant Yar, not so much. But Denise Crosby. Oh yeah, sorry.
I guess
Team
they couldn't
Armis.
get Armis. Armis wasn't available for an
he wasn't
interview.
available.
No.
He's still stuck on that planet.
Screaming, no.
Who else? Of course, Patrick Stewart.
Mhm. Rick Berman. We see Rick Berman. We
Yes.
see
Brandon
Iris Stephen
Braga.
Baird, other
Yes.
writers, showrunners,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Ron
Was
Moore.
Pillar in it? Or was he already
I think he passed away
Passed.
a long time ago. They talked
Yeah.
about Michael
Mhm.
Pillar.
Yes, they talked about him, but he was not.
Right.
I think he had
Although
already passed
really-
away by the time they had filmed this, yeah.
Yeah.
In the absence of Armis being a villain, the real villain of the documentary, who also is not actually in it because he'd already passed away a long time ago, is Jean's lawyer,
The
Leonard
lawyer.
Maislish.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dun,
Wild.
dun. Insane stories.
Insane stories. And
Could you imagine the work environment, like working under that kind of pressure and
No.
intensity,
and
trying
not
to
even-
create a TV show?
and it wasn't even, and I didn't look at it as pressure. It was sort of like a hostile work environment.
Hostile. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the fact he's like in people's offices writing on scripts. Sir, what are we doing?
Looking
What
through
are
their
we-
drawers.
Right, rifling
like,
through people's desks.
like what?
Like,
It was a different time. It was a different time.
Well,
like
and
the-
the really interesting thing that I didn't know prior to this was that Gene Roddenberry didn't want to do Star Trek: The Next Generation. He was,
Right?
which blows my mind. And
Mhm.
Paramount was like, okay, well, we're gonna do it.
Mhm.
And so he had to either sort of like get on board or
Be
live
left
with
behind.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that wasn't gonna happen. Like at the end of the day,
No,
like
and
truly, like someone who creates something and feels that it is their baby, we'll say, like,
Yeah.
okay, just be the next iteration. It's like, okay, I don't really want to have another baby, but apparently I'm going to, so I need to be a part of it some kind of way. So I honestly don't think there would be ever a world where he wasn't a part of any of that series, like some kind of way, shape or form.
Well, and I think they made it pretty clear that Paramount was like, okay, well, listen, we own Star Trek. We don't need to do this with you.
Yeah.
But for the fans to embrace this at all, we need you to be involved with it.
Right. That was
Which
really
was a
all
smart
that it
move.
was. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't think they ever could have done it without him.
I loved the way the framing device that they used for the whole documentary, which is these cool little animated transitions.
Yeah.
And they made it
Mhm.
about like a poker table. Because it
Mm.
really is about a power exchange and bluffing and like who's who really has a good
power.
hand and who doesn't. Like it
Mhm.
was really well done. And it's really about Roddenberry towards the end of his life, and he's slipping mentally and physically, and was losing power to Paramount, to his lawyer, who's protecting him, quote unquote, but seems like more of an Iago kind of, puppet
Out for
master.
himself. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Messy girls.
messy.
Very.
It's a wonder that the show even got made because through all of the power struggles and all of the writer changes, it's just like the fact that we got a show and it was sustained for 7 seasons. It blows my mind after seeing this documentary.
Oh, right.
I love the fact that they were even able to just say out loud, like, the first 2 seasons are unwatchable. I'm like, just
yeah.
There's some
Ronald Moore
gems in
said
there.
that.
But
Ronald D. He was like,
Yes, Ron Moore, who came on in the 3rd season. Let's be clear. I
Uh-huh.
feel like literally
He was
every
like-
person in this
he's
had
like, I
their
had
own
nothing to do with
agenda.
that.
no, I know it's.
Yeah.
But I understand that idea that, like, oh, this is but I liked the story of how Encounter at Farpoint came about because I truly enjoy those 2 episodes. I just do, like, maybe it's, I don't know why I like Q. Maybe that's it. I really do love Q. He's like a good villain. He's not a villain. He's a shit stirrer. So he's a good shit stirrer, and it was a really good introduction to, like, this new series. So to me, I'm like, it's not really unwatchable. Maybe it did get better, like when there was continuity and less toxicity and people felt like they were being heard. But I mean, yeah, there's some stinkers. There's some stinkers in every first season of, except for Grey's Anatomy, in every first season of a show.
But I think
And Dexter and Nurse Jackie.
I forget who says it in the documentary, but maybe it's Ronald Moore. But when they went into the 3rd season, the show shifted into a more character focus. We're gonna focus on this character for this episode. We're gonna do a Beverly episode, a Deanna episode, which there's not enough of, and then a Riker, etc. So
yeah,
I think when they discovered targeting the show and the focus on the characters and not necessarily on, like, this alien came over here and fucked with us this week,
Alien of the week, Planet of the week.
Exactly. That's when the show popped off. That's when it got so much better.
No, it absolutely did, and it was, and I think we sort of, if we didn't know it before this, it came with the arrival of Michael Piller, right, who was guiding all of those conversations, like that you frame every episode. Is this a Worf episode? Is this a Data episode, et cetera, and that. And then looking at stories through that lens was what would propel the series forward.
Yeah.
One early episode. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say one early episode I do jive with a lot is Conspiracy. That I love that like little story. I'm like, I just wish there's so many threads in that one that they could have really brought back. But I think that's another good example of an early on episode that's not horrible, or at least has some, like, good ideas to it.
Well, and that was the episode. That was the episode that Tracy Torme wrote that, and he was they interviewed him in the he's actually Mel Torme's son, I think.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that weird?
No.
But he wrote it as like a fuck you. So he was like, because he, like, everyone who had been through there, all of the writers had been fired. So, like, it was just like, so he basically was like, now it's my turn to be fired. And so he wrote this episode that was like, that broke literally all of the rules that they were given. Like, it was not Star Trek, it was horror, it was all of these things that, like, that he knew was going to be rejected. And then just out of left field, Gene liked it, which made Maurice Hurley fucking crazy, because he's like, wait a second, like, I have been like holding this ship together following your rules, and then people can just break them willy-nilly, and you're like, sure, great, I love it.
But was it really willy-nilly, or was it intentional to be like, hey, you've got to pepper in some little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
And it can't all be vanilla. You got to have a little bit of strawberry. You got to throw a little bit, you got to throw a sprinkle in there or two. It's got to have some ups and downs, because if it's just, that's flatline, it's not gonna last.
Because if you look at the Earth, like the first season or two, they're so wooden. They're just so
They are.
stiff and rigid in their performances. And I feel like that's because they don't know who these people are or what they're about or
No
like
backstory.
how much emotion to give them. It's so perfect. Like,
Yeah.
like, stop
It's
it.
like yeah, they were directed to be these like future humans that don't have conflict, and that's kind of hard to act, like what is
Yeah.
that? Like that's not a real human.
Yeah.
Uh the catty thing I was going to say earlier is some of the worst episodes later in the series are like character episodes, like Sub Rosa, a Beverly episode.
Uh,
Um
uh, uh. He's like, oh,
let's
you
be
got you
honest.
got a nonverbal reaction there, Mike Jones.
Fell out of his chair. Masks, a Data episode. Uh, um, it's all these like seventh season clunkers, but I also don't love the episode where Data learns he can dream, but
Yeah.
but anyway, but it's just funny as the show went on, some of the character focused episodes went a little left field, I thought.
Well, you bring up a really good point because season 7 was weird. I felt like they were just doing stuff. They were like, it's about to end. We gonna have Beverly fucking Ghost. We gonna have we gonna
That was one
have
of the best episodes of
Asaka.
TV ever.
Masaka.
Masaka is waking.
Like, what was that episode? Oh
It
my
was
God.
I really think they were just trying to make the actors happy. They were like, "Oh, Brent can play all these fun characters,
Right.
and
That one.
Beverly can wear different clothes and I don't
Do a
know,
romance novel, I
have
guess.
an
Well,
orgasm."
well, and it's also you start to when you start to learn all of the stories of what was going on behind the scenes during all of these seasons, it sheds so much light on the actual episodes that you're watching, right? So this whole documentary that we just watched sort of explains all of the reasons why the first 2 seasons are kind of unwatchable, right? But then by season 7, they've shipped a whole bunch of their behind the scenes talent off to Deep Space Nine,
Yep.
right, which was in its second season.
Yep.
Their lead producers are now focused on uh, Voyager development, right?
Mhm.
Their 2 of their star writers are split focus between writing the movie, which was about to go into production, and the finale episode.
Yeah.
So you're like, everyone was all over the place. So you're like, who was? And we think it was Jerry Taylor who recently passed away, who was driving the ship kind of season 7, but even she was split with Voyager because she was
She was a
developing that.
creator, yeah.
That's like a really good point.
Also, I don't know the details of this, but most actor contracts are 6 seasons, and then you negotiate beyond that.
Really?
So I wonder.
Yeah,
So I wonder
even now.
even now.
That's what happened to Terry Farrell. That's why she wasn't in
Right.
the 7th season of Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
6
I don't know
seasons.
about with streaming, but like the network shows, like you kind of sign your life away when you
But
sign on
that
for them.
sucks because what happens when they don't go 6 seasons? Like many of them do.
Unemployed.
Unemployed.
Yeah.
Right. You could have turned down other things because you thought this one was, gonna.
Yep.
Hello.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Pushing
Right.
Daisies only got 2.
Oh my God, I
Right.
love that show. Anyway.
Well, I mean, Patrick Stewart lived out of his suitcase for the first year because he was like, "This isn't gonna last." This, like, and I understand that. Today, this show would not have made it.
yeah.
Not on streaming.
No, not on streaming. It wouldn't have gotten the views. I don't even think if it had been launched as a full network show, I don't think they would have renewed for more episodes. The fact that it was first run syndication, I think really saved it because it was marketed very differently, and it gave them the breadth, the bandwidth to find its footing. In the first couple years.
Because in first run syndication, if you to the network, the actual ratings of the show are not as important. The question is, are the local markets still willing to buy it?
Right.
Right?
wild.
I think that's how it works. Yeah, because
I
they
don't know how it
purchase
works, but I just thought it was interesting that syndication was being used in a show
Mhm.
that hadn't even been on the air. Like I didn't even know.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
learned something. I was like, oh, wait, what? Because
Like
you hear syndication, it's like, oh, we've got
Reruns.
3 series and
Mhm.
we're doing
Mhm.
reruns, and I'm getting that residual money from it playing in Spokane,
Mhm.
Washington on Channel 2 at
Mhm.
3 in the morning. Like, what?
Well, and
Like
that's
you're
why
just
Star Trek TNG was on Fox, the local Fox affiliate for me.
Same.
What station
Mhm.
was it on for you? Oh, Fox for you too.
Oh, I don't know. Like honestly, I'm not even sure when it was reruns and when it wasn't.
Oh, sure, right, yeah.
Growing up, I was so
Me
confused
too.
watching it. Because I would just watch it when I would catch it, and so I don't know what channel it was on in Chicago, like officially. I would watch
I
it
don't know
on like
either.
I would watch it late Saturday nights a lot, so I'm assuming that
Mm,
was reruns,
yeah, probably.
but it's so hard to
Well,
tell.
and that's the other thing. Like, if the channel that that you like, so I definitely watched Next Generation. I think it was 6 p.m. on Sundays, weirdly
Yeah.
enough,
That's such
It
a
right?
was
weird
outside of
time.
prime time. It
Weird
couldn't.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But what if that the local station had carried a football game that day?
that would
They would
happen to DS9 all the time.
they would
Yes.
preempt it and maybe run it at like midnight or some other time, which if you're like a kid, like I was,
You're not gonna watch
you
it.
right, right. Well, you had to like set your VCR. Like you had to really you had to
VCR
open up.
kids, that is a tape that you put in a machine to record something because it did not come on again. And if you missed it, you missed it.
It
Okay,
was
continue.
done. You couldn't
Friday night,
download it.
TGIF, thank goodness it's Friday. You'd
Oh
be
my
home by 8
God.
o'clock watching your 3 hour block of television.
Yeah.
Of
And they talk
sitcoms.
about it on Monday. And if you didn't watch it, you felt like a dum-dum.
Appointment television.
Well, and that was why everyone was so resistant to letting Deep Space Nine be serialized or any of these shows be at all
Mhm.
serialized
Because if you
because
miss something, you
You were
miss it.
confused.
Mhm. Well,
That
and
makes
the
so much more sense.
the local
Mhm.
affiliates did not sign anything to say they were going to show these episodes in order. So
Mm.
like
Hmm.
you had local stations doing whatever they wanted to with
That's
the episodes
crazy.
they were sent. Yeah.
The Wild
It's
Wild West it
it's
was.
crazy.
Could you imagine being a station, paying for a product, and then just doing whatever you wanted with it? You're like, I got it now. Let me just air it at 3 a.m.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, what? You pay for this?
Don't you want people watching? Okay.
I remember being my like obsessive first run kid fan, Next Generation self, right?
Mhm.
And I missed the episode Symbiosis.
Which
And
one is that?
that's the one where there's like the drug addiction on the planet, and there's like Tasha gives Wesley the sort of like
Yeah.
drugs are bad,
the
drugs
dare
feel good.
talk.
Yeah, it's
Right.
totally
Like
the dare talk, and it's like
Uh-huh.
the one planet is like the
addicted.
life-saving vaccine, but really it's like
Yeah.
a
Oh, I
What were their
remember.
what
Okay.
were their
Yeah.
names? The
the
aliens?
Arnarans or something like that because they came back to lower
Yeah.
decks. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
go back there.
But it was years before I could find that episode. Like, and
Yeah.
you got to know, like, I was like a fairly resourceful child these things
Damn.
go, right? And I
Mhm.
could not. It was you miss it, and you miss it.
Were
You missed it.
were
And
you just trying to see the hot drug lord alien
Yes.
guy?
well, yes, because it was
It
who
was
was in it was what's his name? The guy who played Kirk's son,
Derek
Yep.
Butler,
Yep.
right? Is
Merritt
that his
Buttrick.
name? Merritt Buttrick. Oh my God.
Oh
Who's
wow,
Derek Butler? I don't know.
I don't
I
know,
just
but
made
it
up a
was
name.
Derek Butler.
It's a
that was
good
good
name.
though.
I
It
would
is.
search Derek Butler
He was
XXX on Twitter, and I bet that's who Mike Jones is thinking of.
Wait, what?
Clearly, Derek Butler is someone that Mike is watching in porn.
That's funny that name came. Now I've got to Google and see if
Time
When
for
you're
the
Butler
goose.
XXX. Google it. You'll know exactly what Mike likes, you guys.
Drop the link in the chat.
yeah, he's a basketball guy. Oh wait. Okay, never mind.
He's dribbling a different kind of ball.
Oh no, he's a sports guy. He's a sports guy. I like.
Oh, you know sports?
There are no sports fans in the room. But
Speak for yourself. Listen, hello, queer. You gays. You're like, what are sports? I played
that's
them.
true.
Oh God.
We don't need to hear about your Quidditch match. So,
Excuse me. I played tennis and squash. I weightlifted And I was a varsity cheerleader.
I want you to know that I'm a Parisi Square champion.
Oh,
It's a very dangerous
Those
game.
blue
3D
suits.
chess.
Oh my god. Okay. Back to Chaos on the Bridge rather than Chaos on the Pod. Uh,
You have topics, Mike Jones. You come on, get back to your list. Steer the ship.
let's talk about this thing that Patrick Stewart said. He went to Picard. Of course he did. He went to Gene Roddenberry asking for input on the character of Picard,
Yeah.
and he handed him the Horatio Hornblower books. And here's the thing. I think I've heard Jonathan Frakes tell that exact same story.
Yeah.
So was that just
he was given the books as well, or
Yeah,
that they were
that he was given them as well?
Wow.
I'm like, was
Oh.
that just a go-to for
the
Gene
man on the
Roddenberry?
show?
Be like, I want somebody in this show to be like Horatio Hornblower. I'm gonna throw this at the wall and see what sticks.
Interesting.
Are they?
I've never read those books.
Okay, so they're real
Me
books.
neither.
They're
Yeah.
real books. So I mean, this is like a really shitty book report here because I haven't read them either, but I did look it up on Wikipedia, and Horatio Hornblower is
Where
described
all
as
the information is
That's-
correct.
Like every
Right.
book report
Right.
written
I'm
today.
literally
is done.
quoting Wikipedia on the podcast. I'm sorry, guys. Like, it's the best I could do. He's described as courageous and intelligent and skilled as a seaman, but is burdened by intense reserve, introspection, and self-doubt. That I don't see. The self-doubt does not come along. And described as unhappy and lonely.
That doesn't come along either. In
What?
either
Despite
Kind of does.
numerous
kinda
personal
grumpy.
feats of
Unhappy and
extraordinary skill and cunning, he belittles his own achievements by numerous rationalizations, remembering only his fears.
Hold up.
Yeah, I don't.
No.
That
Mm-mm,
doesn't
mm-mm.
read either.
Where
It
does
doesn't click.
unhappy and lonely in Jean-Luc Picard? He is alone, but I don't believe he's lonely. I think that there are
wouldn't say he's
moments.
unhappy either.
Exactly. I think that he is fulfilled in his career. He has a couple of trysts, especially with that archaeologist lady on
Gosh.
Gosh.
correct. Like, I think that he is alone, but I never read him as lonely. Like,
in the
if he-
episode they wrote to get the captain laid.
Oh yes.
Yes.
That's when he
Can
meets
we talk
Vosh.
about the description that Gene wanted them to have of
Ooh.
Ryza?
Of Risa? I want to go to that Risa.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
women kissing
Please,
women,
men holding hands, we're
alluding
giving
to
the
them having
illusion.
sex
Yes,
in
I love it.
background.
The
I'm like,
illusion. Ooh.
what's
That's
that?
what I'm saying.
How do you
Right,
get the
right.
illusion of people having sex? I just
Um,
want to know what he meant.
I know what he
Like-
meant. You know, you're going in for the kiss, the camera pans, and then you see a hand run down a back, a shirt coming off, chiseled bodies behind a scrim.
They're just
Somebody
like on
walking
their-
through a door, zipping up their pants.
Correct. Unzipping their pants, readjusting.
But also, he had already done the freaking Planet of Sensual Pleasure in Justice season 1, right? The Hado massage planet,
Right.
where everyone's like giving each other like muscle rub downs, right?
Right. They jog everywhere.
They
Yeah.
jog everywhere, and everybody's got
That's
like a
true.
camel toe moose knuckle situation.
It was
And
crazy. What was going on with that?
But the thing is, that
It was-
didn't. But it was sensual. It wasn't like
It was to the
sex.
side.
there's
It
one
was
guy
to
who's
one
literally
side.
one is on this side and the other is on this side, and where the rest is, I don't know. But
You could literally have somebody jump rope with this.
That planet had not invented the dance belt.
Definitely not. Or underwear or anything.
Underwear in general.
Okay.
But I also love
Jockeys.
that, like the dynamic there, that Rick Berman was clearly his keeper, right? So that I think it was like Ira Steven Behr, right, who we know is the Deep Space Nine showrunner, wrote the Risa episode, Captain's Holiday,
Mhm.
and heard this description, Eric, that you just gave us, and then went to Rick Berman and he's like, "What do I do? Is what really I have to do all that?" And he's like, "No, just get the captain laid. It'll be fine."
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. That's kind of what I love about Ryza, because I've watched this documentary before.
Mhm.
And just like imagining that is happening somewhere off screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because Ryza, things go down on Ryza.
Jamaharon.
Yeah, Jamaharon, the Horgon, so
Little pleasure planet.
exactly.
It is
Somebody's getting pegged.
it's kind of one of my favorite things in Next Generation that and Lower Decks like has minded a couple times. Jamaharon, like seeking
Right.
Jamaharon,
Right, you seek
never
Jamaharon.
clear what the fuck that means.
It
It
is
is.
left a little vague, but I think we know.
I
But
think
also,
it is.
like,
It's the highest level of ecstasy that one could possibly attain, whether alone, with one, or several people.
Because guess what we found out about Curzon? He died seeking Jamaharon with Vanessa Williams.
Which means that he had a massive heart attack
Exactly.
whilst orifices were being filled and he were filling
Exactly.
others.
Okay.
Too much pleasure. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Mike Jones. Go ahead.
This is a bit of a bird walk, but talking about Gene Roddenberry's sexuality.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying, free love. So if you can find his novelization of Star Trek the Motion Picture that he wrote, it is amazing. I'm going to read you this short excerpt. This is from the scene where
and now we're reading
where the Ilea probe it comes on board and she's in the shower, right? The transparency slid open. It was Ilea, lovely, almost unbearably lovely in her nudity. There was some sort of glowing light from her throat. Kirk found his eyes shifting from the tiny light glow to what seemed impossibly lovely, hard-tipped breasts, which were at this moment swinging around to point directly at him. Damn.
Oh my God.
Girl.
Well, I gotta say, at least he said throat and not thrusty.
What is a thrusty?
Yeah.
Oh
my God, that's amazing.
Lanita got some people just get it, okay, Mike?
Some people just get it, Mike.
Not those hard-tipped nipples. Oh,
that's what he wanted on Ryza. Swinging around.
Here's the thing: that doesn't work like that. Number one, because when you say swing, that means that there is super motion, right? Like, and that they're not autonomous. Like, they don't move independently of one's body. Like, what are we talking
I think
about?
she's turning to look at him, but that's how he described it.
Yeah, but how he describes it as if they are swinging.
Right.
Do your ears hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? And then those suckers find him and said, "Zook, there he is."
With their hard-tipped nipples. Or hard-tipped breasts. Oh my God.
Maybe the shower was cold, I guess.
Maybe. Well, it was a sonic shower, so they were vibrating.
Definitely cold.
She was vibrating.
That's a very different, elevated description of something. And I guess if he were in charge, there would have been more of that. If like there weren't any constraints, like if he was on streaming,
maybe
right.
It would have been full on.
The show would be on Cinemax at 11 p.m.
Skinamax.
We would have got Counselor Troy with 4 breasts or 3 breasts or however.
That's what he wanted too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
what story where did that story come from?
Total Recall.
Yes.
Well, that was a really interesting thing is that they said that is that they one of the things that they did is they got together and they like got caught up on like the last 10-15 years of sci-fi. Right.
That's
so
they
watched Blade Runner, which is kind of, and they wanted like a Sean Young kind of character, right? Which is like maybe Data. I don't know. And they wanted and
they
then
watched
one of the one of the Alien movies, and it wasn't Ripley, it was one of the other characters that they there was a Latina sort of action character who was
I know what you're talking about, the one with the red bandana.
Yeah, and
Tasha
that was what that became Macha Hernandez, which then became Tasha Yar. But like they were ripping all this shit off of all of these other, well, not ripping off, but they were like,
being inspired by.
They were aware.
At very least you want to be aware of what's happening, so you can either like copy it or not.
Right.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. What people, I don't know if they did or not, but like what's so great about the original series is that it was sort of original, like it was original thought, right? Yes, it could have had some inspiration by other things, but it was it was new. It was like, what is this? And then to sort of pepper in the zeitgeist of the time into this series that could have just been, again, new. Like the whole idea that he was friends with L. Ron Hubbard, which is
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow, that was
wild.
weird.
I was
that
like,
was
again, this is why organized religion is the devil.
Uh-huh.
Scientology, like you
mhm.
knew the dude that like said, "Oh,
Yeah.
here's a new religion, Scientology."
Right.
Yeah.
What?
But there were people who were kind of insinuating that he was flirting with that idea himself.
Yeah,
That L. Ron
Huh.
Hubbard invented a religion. He's like, well, so could I. I
I
could
could do
I
invent a
could
that.
do that.
religion.
The cult of Star Trek. I mean,
Right.
it's not unheard of, and I've said it myself. I jokingly say like us Star Trek fans were part of like a really positive cult.
A positive cult who thinks
A
like
positive cult.
yeah, the
Yeah.
humanistic, like the idea that
Yeah, the
humanism, like
humanism.
it's true. And I get it, like where people like you need conflict for stories to move forward, but they don't have to be like warring. It doesn't have to be like war conflict. It can just be like interpersonal conflict. So like the scene where they showed where Data and Picard are talking and he's like, you can't just create a human. Like that's not what it's about. And it's like
Yeah,
he's frustrated. It's not conflict, he's just frustrated. There's
frustrated.
there's a heightened emotion. It's not all roses and sunshine and I'm giving her all she's got,
Yeah.
Captain. Like there's something
Yes.
there.
Hmm.
That has to be there. And I think that was great. But also this idea that we have sort of risen above war in that way, and
Yeah.
that the species that haven't are still the ones that are sort of like not lesser, no, that are not as evolved and enlightened
Mm.
as we are, right?
Hmm.
Like the fact that the Borg only wants to assimilate, that Klingons are like, yep, it's a great day to die. They're not really warring as much anymore, but like they're like, "Ugh, fighting's in our DNA." What is it? The
Hmm.
Jem'Hadar? Those the ones with the little
Yep.
The victory is
The
life.
Catracel White.
Yeah.
You got some more of that white.
Exactly. It was like you can choose. That was a real. I know that's so random, but like that's a really good episode. Like I really enjoyed that episode
Which
when
one?
the one with the young Jem'Hadar. It was like Deep
Oh
Space
yes.
Nine,
Odo takes
where
care of him.
and
Oh
he was like,
yeah.
you can choose something different because Odo was going through that same issue with like choosing not to be
A
a
founder.
An evil
terrible
founder.
founder.
He was just a collaborator, that's all.
That's it. Side
Mm.
note, I know we're not talking about this, but I do at
Sorry.
some point, because I started rewatching Deep Space Nine again. Odo's makeup in like the first couple episodes or the first couple seasons is
Mm.
terrible. Like
Mm.
they change their makeup artist, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Because he looks so gaunt and like rough, and then he's
Mm,
sort of better. Okay, I just want to make sure that I wasn't crazy and seeing
no.
something
Yeah,
that's
they
not okay.
definitely redid the makeup.
Okay,
Mm.
thank you. We
Um,
can go back to this. Just
I can't. I have to mention that in Futurama, they took the Star Trek religion to the next level, and Star Trek had been forbidden since the series became a worldwide religion in
Yes.
the 2200s, and
Stop.
then all the fans were killed during the Great Star Trek Wars. So, like, the idea that Star Trek could be a religion is not a new idea.
Yeah. Well, and it's really interesting that a lot of the implication from some of his people who were with him on the original series, who then came back and did not
Mhm.
survive very long in the Next Generation with him, like the
Mhm.
David Gerald and Dorothy
Mhm.
Fontanas, is that his view of himself as a sort of philosopher, as like carrying the torch for some sort of idea, was more central to who he was in these later years than his role as a storyteller, as like a
Mhm.
dramatist.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that, and they made the point that, there was plenty of conflict between the crew on the original Star Trek, that, that Bones and Spock were always arguing
Right.
opposite worldviews and in
Right.
conflict with one another. And yeah, somehow this crew couldn't be.
McCoy comes across as downright racist against Vulcans
Very much.
sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what that shift was for him and why he went in. Well, it was in the documentary. They do kind of go into it. It was that was it L. Ron Hubbard, the whole
Mhm.
humanist thing? He got
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
obsessed with that, right? Like that's
Yeah.
why he went into like everyone's perfect. Everyone's perfect.
But
Mhm.
it's and what's interesting is that that doesn't mean that you're perfect. It's just that you're trying to be a better you, right?
Better
Like
person, yeah.
you don't have to take it so far because I don't think anybody in next gen was perfect. Like
Mm-mm.
even Data wasn't perfect. Like he
Mm.
would be the one who would be the closest to perfection. No, you know who was perfect? Guinan. Guinan was perfect.
Mhm.
That's
Oh
who was
my
like.
Oh.
God, I love your shirt.
Your guidance
It says
shirt.
listener. I bought it from Melissa Longo at the table at the convention. Yes.
Shout out.
Yes.
But everyone
Well,
else, I mean, because she's most evolved and oldest person there aside from Q. So,
I think that they comment on this later with the Borg because the Borg are
hmm
seeking perfection. Like that's actually what they're trying to do. And
are they?
that's what they think they're doing.
But how is that?
Order
How
and
is a?
perfection. Yeah, no, I agree with that, Mike.
I don't disagree. I'm just
Mm-mm-mm.
you've made me. I don't think I've ever thought of it that way because they're saying that you're being assimilated. So
Right.
you're in like
I mean, talk about
brain.
no personal conflict. The Borg
Yes.
have no
Mhm.
interpersonal conflict.
No, because
They're
they're all
all
the
They're
one mind.
unified. Mhm.
Right.
yeah. But how
It's
is that
that.
perfection? They're just sucking.
Add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own.
They're enhancing themselves. So each culture they take is another notch in the belt towards that enhancement, towards that perfection, or at least that's their thought process.
We're gonna have to
Yeah.
do an episode about that and really
Yeah.
dig
Yeah.
into the Borg because I have so many things, but
Work
that's
it
not
out.
where we are right now. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that lack of interpersonal conflict. That I mean, I'm drawn to it in a way because part of why Star Trek is appealing to me is, especially in the 80s, it was the only sci-fi property that had a positive future. Like it
Mm,
wasn't Mad Max, it wasn't,
yeah.
Blade Runner, it wasn't, I that's the end of my list. But I sputtered out. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's things are going to be great.
It
Like,
wasn't
Yeah.
post-apocalyptic. Everyone's,
No.
right.
struggling and dying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody is fed, the children can read, like everybody gets along. But I understand from a writer's perspective, that's boring as
Right.
hell.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It's really
how
hard to set the stage for that,
yeah.
And you can still argue that point now. Like, what other sci-fi property really is banking most of its identity on positivity and a positive future for humanity? I can't think of one off the top
Lower
of my head.
decks.
I mean, that's the
Right,
same
yeah.
thing.
Star
I
Trek.
know. That's why I was being funny. That's why I was being. That's why it's funny because that's really the only one. But here's the thing: is
Ah.
there really much sci-fi on TV anymore? New,
Mm.
and I'm not talking about
That's
fantasy. I'm talking about
not really.
Right, not
sci-fi.
fantasy.
No.
Because fantasy there is. We got our
Yes, there's a
Yeah.
thrones.
lot of
We got our
fantasy.
Lord of the Rings. We have all of
Mm-hmm.
that. But
Mm-hmm.
there's no Battlestar Galactica. There's
Not
no,
right
what's the
now.
other one that y'all said I should watch, but I don't watch? Um, who,
I
the
don't
black
know.
dude with the ring on his head, is that Battlestar Galactica?
Oh, Stargate?
Bang, Stargate.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh.
that's gone. Yeah,
Babylon
but
5, we Brief Ram really laid it
really loved,
hard
yeah,
that we should be watching Babylon 5 from the
that's
90s.
true.
Yeah.
I tried. I'm gonna try
Oh,
again.
really?
I'm gonna try again.
The sci-fi I think of now is like Black Mirror or
Just
Westworld, which I don't even think
great.
that's on anymore.
And
But
West.
they're
dark.
so dark. Everything is
Dark.
super dark.
I get
At,
depressed.
no, 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 no.
Yes.
No, don't get no. Black Mirror is basically now.
I
Black
I
Mirror
mean,
prepared
yes, I will
Black
not
Mirror
argue
prepared
that.
me. It has
I will not
prepared
argue
me.
that.
It
Girl,
has
Right.
yes.
prepared me.
My
I'm like,
glasses have 2 cameras in them and 8 microphones.
8.
I don't know why it has that many, but they do.
surround sound. You got to hear front, back,
That
and to the
FBI
side.
agent has so much access to you.
Oh my God. And here you are with an external, regular, old fashioned mic sitting right in front of your face to do this.
Exactly.
Like the 8 in your
Exactly.
glasses
Funny.
aren't
I
enough.
think it had
Oh
whatever
my
it was.
God, 8? That is crazy.
I think that's what it said. But anyway,
You
but
can run
yeah,
the
like
intercom at the theater.
we're living in the future
We're living in the
already.
Well,
future.
so the other thing that came across that was, I think, directly said is that Gene Roddenberry is a famously an atheist, right?
Yeah.
For as much as he's like flirting with starting his own religion,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's an atheist, and who
It
does
would be
he takes Dorothy Fontana's script away from her to add what? God.
Yeah.
yeah,
Q, what is
Which
Q
is
if not God?
right. A trickster god, a Loki,
Yeah.
a Loki of it all.
But a god nonetheless. And
but a god
yeah.
nonetheless.
and a somewhat omnipotent, omniscient kind of god at the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very vague what his reach is and isn't. Because sometimes he knows things and sometimes he doesn't. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what do you have access to and what do you not?
But do you think it's that he doesn't know, or is that there is? So you know how when you can't cross your time streams, right? Like we learned that
Mm.
in.
That look.
I know. I was like, where did we learn that? Like you can't. Oh, Harry Potter. Like you can't. Like you can go back at the time turner. You can go back in time, but you can't let yourself see yourself, or else you'll go mad. Like you can't.
Oh.
Right.
Sure.
I had to pull that from the far
Back to the
recesses of
Future.
my brain.
Uh-huh.
Yes, you can't change something because of the butterfly effect. Yada yada
Mhm.
yada. So maybe there is sort of like a unspoken rule in the Qdom where it's like if you are going to like completely fuck someone's timeline or destroy the path, you can't say that thing, but you can say everything up into that thing to maybe like shake the table, but you can't knock it completely over because then what's the point of I don't know. That was a very I know. Y'all are looking at me like you have reached so far.
I lost the thread.
I know,
I
I'm
lost
sorry.
you when you said cross time streams because I felt like there was like a water sports joke in there somewhere that I was trying to make. and
Across the
not coming.
streams.
Oh my you all get laid. My goodness.
I think you reactivated the weed I smoked earlier. I was like, what?
Yeah, man. Time
Temporal mechanics
streams.
101.
Exactly.
I was with you. I was like,
No, I don't know. It's like it's the thing. I mean, it's the question about God in general. Like, right? Like everyone's like, oh, he's all knowing and knows everything and knows what you're gonna do, but then there's free will. So technically you don't know everything because there's always a chance that I'm going to choose something that you didn't see me choosing.
Yeah.
It's breaking my brain, but you are so right because it's like
because these are the things I think about.
He kept trying to get them to do, specifically Picard, to do certain things or to learn certain things.
Yeah.
And if he's omniscient, like
I know.
Like,
These are the things I think about. Welcome to why I can't go to sleep at night. I need to put something on so that my brain listens to that thing and not the things in here. Hello.
It makes sense that Gene Roddenberry added the god-like character because even though he was an atheist and a humanist, he was kind of obsessed with God because in the 70s there was the other before the motion picture was made, there was the God thing. Yeah, that was literally the working title of the movie. And then by the time they get around to Star Trek 5, like, you know, the crew goes to find God. You know what I mean? Even the motion picture, like V'ger is seeking its creator, you know? So it's this constant search for something greater. And Q, I think, helps give us an option of that.
Well, and he certainly frames the series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he does.
Definitely. He bookends it for sure. But it's funny how like he created a god that is operating out of some kind of bureaucracy because there's like a panel of them.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
he gets kicked out sometimes.
He's one of
of many.
Yeah. So technically, it's not a omni god. It's a different. It's a
Kinda
more
like a
pagan-y religion, but there are many gods. So he wasn't the Zeus of it all. He was just
he was a Hermes.
Correct. He had a
Speaking
singular
of
focus.
Chaos on the bridge. Have you guys watched
episode 1?
You've watched the first episode of Chaos?
First episode, yes. Not renewed for a second season.
Not renewed for a second season, which is really upsetting. But it's about the Greek gods. And anyway, my brain was just like chaos. Both of the titles have chaos. Chaos. Let's talk about it.
Exactly.
Yes, because I definitely was in the room while Colby was watching it, and I can't decide if I actually want to sit down and watch it myself. But Debbie
I'm going
Mazar is
to.
in it, and
Yeah, no,
Jeff
you should.
Goldblum.
Yeah.
It's actually
Oh,
and
the
here.
Netflix show. Now I'm there.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Welcome. Also,
Chaos with a K.
when I watched the first episode, I said, "Oh, isn't this what Hadestown is about?" And that why
Yeah.
he takes it. I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, I know what's
Yeah.
going on." I've listened to that musical. I've not seen it yet, but I was like, "Oh, that's right. He's going to take the
Stunning.
long." I've decided to. Did you all hear that? Did you hear?
No.
No, but
Oh,
you
good.
have a real world interruption. Something happened.
Well, I've had 2 real world interruptions, but I hid the first one from you. No, the plus one is over there studying. And I was going to go into the other room and podcast, but I was told, no, you can stay. It's fine. I was like, good, because I missed you and didn't see you today. And
Mm.
so all of the all of the cans of liquid death, which is water, which apparently is the
water.
best seltzer water ever, all fell over because they're all empty.
Oh no.
And the look was like this.
I didn't hear it.
Got a good microphone. Just
It's
one of them,
only
though.
for me.
Is there anything that in watching this documentary that you were completely shocked by, like that you had no idea?
I didn't
Let's
have
go
any
around the
idea about
table.
any, like, honestly, y'all know, like, I can't, like, yes, I may have watched a few episodes when I was like younger, but I didn't like watch it. I wasn't there every week digging into Star Trek. I watched it as an older as an adult. And so no, I don't know any of this backstory. I didn't know that there was infighting. I didn't know that writers were getting kicked off left and right. I didn't know that,
Yeah.
I
this
didn't know either.
lawyer was fucking a total douche lord and like creating havoc every which way. I didn't know that Roddenberry had drug issues. I didn't know that he had failed. Like, none. I just watched the show and was like, this is amazing. Like, the brain of the person who came up with this is fucking amazing. Like, anybody who creates something new, to me, it's like, oh, like, you're on a different wavelength. Like, you created something out of absolutely nothing that was like nothing that came before it. So, the fact that all of this behind the scenes was happening and still we got a product that ended
Yep.
up continuing to create multiple other streams from one guy. I was like, well, goddamn, it was meant to
Mhm.
be. Like,
It was meant to be.
the power of the story, the power of the kernel that this was about the future and the future that he saw for humanity, the future that we could get to. I'm like, oh well, shit. I guess nobody was gonna stop it from happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's wild. It's wild because I mean, look at us. We're sitting here right now talking about it.
Yeah.
Like,
It's true.
like this was made in '87. You know, like
Yeah.
we're just like, like living our
Geeking out
lives.
about exactly.
Geeking
And
out
how many other
Right.
people do? How
you
many other people are
know?
literally sitting around talking about, so let's dive into why they chose the colors. Like, just random shit.
I think for me, as far as like something that took me aback, because I've seen this documentary, so I was literally like searching my brain, like what rewatching it kind of like caught me off guard was how Patrick Stewart behaved when Good Morning America came.
Isn't that a great
and
story?
I
Yeah.
was gagged. I was like, oh, he got pissed. So
Wouldn't you?
apparently, yeah, so apparently
Mhm.
he comes out and sees the weatherman on the bridge wearing his costume, the captain's costume. So I guess he must have had the pips and everything. So that pissed him off.
It's like,
And I want to know what he said when he walked off and was cursing. He said he didn't want to repeat it in the documentary, but I want to know.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
think about it, because he didn't want it to be being we don't know this man from Adam, but in my mind, Patrick Stewart is a serious
Man.
actor.
Yeah.
He number one, he's British, so of course, like, they serious is just basically in their DNA. But he's like, this is serious. Like, we are creating a show. We are trying to get people on board. So, okay, fine. We're also trying to get you to buy into that we're actually in the future.
25th, yeah.
Like, this isn't like, oh, look, this is all fake. And so I would have walked on and been like, nah, fuck this shit too.
Yep.
I'm out.
Yep.
Right. No way.
Yep.
No.
Also, he ended up in the principal's office a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, could you imagine if they just said, you know what, you're out. You're done. Because they threatened him with that. They were like,
Yeah.
well, since you're unhappy, we're just gonna get that script ready to write you out of the series. And that's what kept him, locked in, I guess. He was like, well, I'd rather take this check.
Another poker match thing,
another game.
That's something that they used. I've heard other Trek actors from later series. I want to say Nana Visitor said that that was a constant threat. Like if you were causing a problem, like asking for things, asking for changes in scripts, or even your contract negotiation, it was like, well, there could be a shuttle accident and your character's gone.
Yeah.
Like boom. And Terry Farrell called him on it, and was like, you know what, then fine. I want out.
I'm still mad about that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, still mad about it. Also mad.
I hate watch that episode from time to time and get so mad.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Because sometimes you just want to be riled up. You want to feel something.
Be angry and sad at the same time.
Rage a little bit.
And of course, Cisco left and went home to his dad. And that's so sad. Anyway, the thing that actually about that weatherman story that it sort of reminded me, and the center seat, which is the documentary series, right? Makes a point of emphasizing the way that they treat the captain's chair on set. That you don't just like people don't casually just sit in that chair on a Star Trek set on the bridge. That it is that to maintain that sense of reverence for the chair, and that only the captain sits there, or that when anyone else sits there, it's a big deal. I mean, it's like the Iron Throne on Game of Thrones.
Hello, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
It is a chair that it is highly symbolic, right?
Yeah.
And that you don't, so that when Vash comes on, do you remember? Because you remind me of this. Vash comes back and she sits in his chair and everything's right? Like, don't you think that the captain's uniform carries some weight like that?
Yes.
And then for on national TV, a weatherman
who's just going to give you the weather? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No,
it just makes a mockery of it, and I could totally understand why he was like infuriated, because he's a serious actor,
Right.
So
he's a sir. He got knighted. Hello.
Exactly.
It reminds me of a quick story. When I was doing an educational Shakespeare tour back in my younger days, we had like one of those, like the local weatherman. It wasn't the weatherman. I think she was like a like an on the streets reporter person, came and did a little thing at one of the schools we were performing at, and she wanted to put on a costume, and then she was using this stupid, ridiculous British accent, because that's what Shakespeare is. And she's like, why don't you act with the accent? And the actual actors in the show were like, you're just like ridiculing what we do.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing real things here. So it's the same. Same
making a mockery of it.
Yeah.
Yes,
I have respectful.
Definitely in my work have worked with some iconic female dancers that go on of an unnamed company that go on various local news outlets, and the weather people always try and do their move, and they laugh, and but we definitely like sell that as like a thing that you can you can dance with them and look like an idiot, and it's funny, and you're like,
right,
really, okay,
right,
yeah,
it is what it is. The thing that sorry.
No, it's my turn.
I was going to say my answer. When I first watched it, the whole Leonard Maislish thing was just like so crazy. Like I'd never even heard that name before, and suddenly I realized how much of a thumbprint he had on the first couple seasons. When I watched it this time, the thing that stuck out to me is this is just dumb, but the Paramount president guy referred to Patrick Stewart as Pat Stewart.
Yeah.
I was just like, I had to like stop it. I was like, did he just say Pat Stewart?
Pat Sajak? No.
Oh yeah, and the guy who calls him into the principal's office and is like,
Yeah.
show up in your costume,
Yeah.
That
and
was
I'll be
wild.
15 minutes late.
Yes.
That was wild.
That was
Wild.
such a power
games.
struggle.
Yeah,
Playing games.
and of course
Power
Shatner's like,
move.
you play games, you play cards. Come, he's a
Right.
dick, is
Yeah,
what he like.
right.
What he is.
And
Mhm.
that,
Because
that,
he's
Shat-
studio
that
exec.
Shatner, the way that Shatner congratulates him for how he gives Patrick Stewart a hard time, I was like,
Yeah.
excuse me, no, I don't.
Exactly, because you,
Yeah.
sir,
No.
you should have. And the thing is,
I
you would
hate that
think
stuff.
Yeah.
you would think that there would be a little bit of solidarity, but I guess you wouldn't because of ego and the fact that
Mhm.
there's a new series coming out. So now you are not the only captain, right? And they
Mhm.
mention that too, like the
Mhm.
fact that he's like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
you're the captain now. Like,
Yeah, that he felt a twinge of.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
He said
jealousy.
Yeah.
And then he let
And-
that be in the documentary, by the way, which
Right.
speaks
Yeah.
well of him, I guess.
It-
Even if
it's the
It-
honesty part.
but it kind of does, where it's like, okay,
Mhm.
if this is going documentaries, when the people who the documentary is about have a hand in how it is final cut,
Mm.
always to me seems like they're always trying to lighten or make themselves appear more X than they are, whatever that
Yes.
For sure.
X is.
Mhm.
And then on the other hand, when there's documentaries and the people aren't involved, the people making the documentary seem to want to make the person that it's about seem more X, whatever that is,
Mhm.
than they actually are. Like there's I'm trying to where's the balance? Like I feel like
the truth, the middle, and
yeah, it's
just
like
lies.
your
Yeah.
truth, their truth, and somewhere in the middle is the actual truth.
Right.
I think the documentary did about Amy Winehouse did a pretty good job of laying out all of the issues, all of her struggles, all of the high points, and it wasn't all she's a terrible drug addict. It was like, oh no, here are the struggles, yada yada yada. Here are the if I could think of one like off the top of my head where I'm like, oh, this seems like actual truth being presented to me on
Yeah.
this screen.
Mhm.
Well, and that is for sure very much part of this documentary, that every one of these people who spoke on camera had some sort of investment
Yes.
in telling their side of
Story.
it.
Version.
Yep.
Their
Oh,
version.
yeah.
Yep. Because there's
Yeah.
that montage at the beginning that
Yeah.
speaks to exactly what you're saying, how like they flip from one person to another and they're all saying various different things about Gene.
Mhm.
He was a visionary, he was an addict, he was a
Yep.
womanizer,
Right,
he was
right.
this, he was that.
He was
you
very
know.
kind. He was very difficult, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like
Right.
the inverse.
Which speaks to just like the complexity of all of us. We all can
Yeah,
contain
we can
multitudes.
be-
I'm sure he was all of those
Mhm.
things.
All of those
Right.
things.
He was full of it.
The crazy takeaway for me about him though was like, yes, my respect for his genius was undiminished by this.
Mhm.
Right? Like he was the visionary behind all of this. He is the source of Star Trek, and he deserves credit for all of that.
Exactly.
But that how unworkable some kinds of genius are
Yeah.
without people to either make
Yeah.
it real for you, people
Mhm.
to temper your worst impulses,
Mhm.
to like keep you in line, and
Mhm.
how quickly he was willing to cast aside. Because even in the original
Yep.
series, he had Gene Kuhn in season 2
Mhm.
was like the whole reason that that season 2 like flourished the way that it did,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
He like
Mhm.
handed the reins over to him and like went
Mhm.
away,
Yeah.
like he not to mention Dorothy Fontana, all these the Bob Justman, all these people that he relied on, and how easily he was willing to cast them aside when he got into squabbles with them.
Mhm.
Mm.
But how like that they're the reason I'm sure that Troy has the correct number of boobs.
Right.
I mean, but what's also interesting is the fact that when Crusher goes away,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then that's the reason why like she goes away, and then they put Pulaski in, and it's like, oh,
Mm-mm.
there's zero gel here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
yeah, the chemistry.
The chemistry
On the
doesn't.
screen, off the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes okay, fine, off the screen. If there's chemistry on the screen, we'll deal with the bullshit
Right.
off.
Right.
Right.
Like
Like
because
Kate
you show up
Mulgrew
your.
and Jerry Ryan. Like they didn't get along for the first
But would
couple
it?
seasons. Yeah.
But you wouldn't. But you
But
You
you wouldn't
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 know
know.
that.
know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Mhm.
because that's called being a professional,
Acting. Yeah. Being a professional in acting. Mhm.
right? So, it. You're correct, Damien. Like that. He didn't come away diminished. Like I just was like, oh, the plus one always says that like being an artist, you're a little crazy. Like you
Oh,
just
for sure.
like to be
Mm-hmm.
any
Mm-hmm.
type of artist,
Yes.
whatever that is, there is crazy in there. And if you don't have anyone, as you said, to sort of temper, rein in, kind of pull you back from the brink,
Ooh, Lord.
then you're gonna go. And maybe that's what I mean. Majel was trying. Like, okay, I've
Yeah.
got to let you go. Me
Yep.
pulling you back from the brink
Yep.
is
Sure.
72 hours. We're not drinking. We're going to
Right.
eat
Send you to
drink.
weekend rehab.
We're gonna
Oh,
That was a
detox.
thing.
yeah, we're gonna detox, and you're gonna
Right.
start
Yeah.
again. But that's what's so interesting about creativity and being an artist.
Mhm.
And to create something, you have to believe in yourself and what you think the right thing is, and there has to be someone there who can like sort of punch into you, like, no, you're going a little too far.
Too far. Yep. Rein you
Yeah.
in.
Right.
It's so real because like being an artist, you always have like massive insecurity on your back. And I feel like because Gene had so many gaps in his career, I think he just like was massively an insecure person. And that probably led to a lot of, drugs and alcohol and things like that. I don't know. I wasn't there, but it's fair to
No, that is
guess.
intuitively, that feels true.
Yeah. And his secretary in the documentary, she was saying he didn't feel supported, like Damien was saying. Like, I think he genuinely felt like at any moment this could be taken from me.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
gonna like try and hold on to it via the lawyer,
Yeah.
via
Mhm.
rewriting people's scripts,
Mm-hmm.
via firing people willy-nilly,
Mm-hmm.
like the insecurity. Only I can do this the right way.
Yeah.
Only me.
And if I push everyone away and just like hold on to it, then the studio will maybe think no one else can do it and I'll have security. You
Yeah.
know. It's sad, but that's
The reality.
that happens a lot.
Well, and
Tyler
if you look at
Perry.
if you look at where he was though, the way they described that he has like his
A
job was to
desert.
go. He went to this office building and sat there
Mhm.
and answered letters from fans, right? Like that
Yeah.
was his job. And if
Yeah.
you look at like, so your entire life is, I mean, not to be rough because there's plenty of people in the Star Trek world that are this, right? But like
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
entire life is centered around this thing that you did 20 years ago.
Sure.
Mhm.
And then when it came back and they made big movies out of it, they kicked you to the curb and let other
Yeah.
people do it, and they did
Yeah.
it in
Yeah.
ways that he didn't love.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it makes sense that he, like you said, like the lawyer is like his agent of vengeance from
Yeah.
all of
Mhm.
this.
Yeah. The giant green hand in space, he was holding on to it.
Exactly. That's
Apollo.
perfect.
Perfect.
That was perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, like he would not let it go, and I think to his detriment, clearly, is because I always wonder about like if Gene didn't go through all of the turmoil that he went through, would we still have him around? We don't know, and like would Star Trek be the same? Would it be better? Would it be worse? Because I feel like
Mhm.
once, like, let's be real. A
Mm.
lot of the Star Trek that we have either passed while Gene was alive and then beyond Gene passing, I think it was better without his involvement.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people took his base architect for the idea and the concepts and they ran with it. I'm not saying all of it was great, and I'm not saying he had bad ideas, but I definitely think people were able to take his ideas and build upon them and keep it going.
Yeah.
Without him, I mean, yeah, there was no choice. So,
No, I understand what you're saying. It's not to denigrate like what he did, but at the end of
yeah.
the day, it's like you don't have perspective. Like when you're in it, you can't see everything. You have to sometimes let go. It. I feel like this is split. Okay, did anybody watch Inside Out too?
I haven't
Yes.
seen it yet. I want to see it.
Okay, so then I won't say what I'm gonna say. When you when you see it, send me an email
Okay.
so I can be like,
Okay.
because
Email.
yeah, okay, well then a text. Yeah,
Carrier
exactly.
Dear Lenita Ward.
I have finally
Money
concluded my watch of Inside Out 2. What you said was
as per your
so apt.
request. Okay. No, there's just
I think he just called you old, by the way. I think
and that's okay. I call
I'll
myself
just message
old
you
and
on Instagram.
yeah, that's fine too. Same thing. Like
She
you're
won't see
typing
it for 6 months.
No, I will. I listen. IG is my favorite thing in the world. The plus one will tell you, be like, "Oh, you do scroll on that." Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I
good.
do.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
So here's the there's a moment in it where it's like you just have to let go. Like you have to relinquish a little bit of control
Yes.
to people that you trust. So that's why writers' rooms are important and having the right writers' rooms. Like I whispered, which nobody heard, but like Tyler Perry, he writes his own things. Like he's decided that only he can tell the story, and it's like, oh, just let somebody else read a script. Just one
Please.
script. Let somebody touch. But it's never gonna happen. So that is, I'm yelling into the void. Fine. I feel like Gene, if he had continued, I feel like that would have been the detriment in my like
Of the series.
based watching this documentary made me realize that it was great for him to start it. Great for him, like to start the original series. Great for him to have a little sprinkling of a hand in setting the stage for next gen. And then, as you said, he
slowly backed off.
pushed out,
backed off.
whatever it was.
Right.
I think that it allowed for it to blossom and to grow into what we know and love in all of the different iterations, but still keeping the seed of what he sort of planted in the ground.
Well, and I think it's part of what it sounds like you're saying too is like, is a show creator is not Picasso. You're not alone in a studio painting something and that you reveal to the world your own your solo piece when you're done. It is creating television, being a storyteller of some kind of like that. You're not a novelist. Is collaborative by definition.
Yes.
To be successful, you have to it requires a letting go. It requires a collecting of ideas and sharing.
That's why we have departments. We have different departments.
Literally, even a novelist though has someone a copy editor who's going through and being like, this here's a little wordy. This you know, like the only thing, I mean, even an artist, yes, you're creating but someone's going to critique it and be like, so it's a little heavy on this side, don't you think? Like, there's always a critic of something, but you're correct, Amazon. You're right. You can't forever and always.
Just like Mike Jones can't do this podcast on his own. He is
can't.
He's not Jerry. He needs us to join him on it.
Yes, he needs a little bit of comic relief. Hello, and then he needs another Brainiac. Amazon.
I once thought about doing an episode by myself. This was a long time ago, but all the co-hosts had conflicts that came up, and I was like, "Well, I want to stay on schedule. Like, I should just do." But it's awful. A podcast by yourself is awful.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not. I got a few minutes into it, and I was like, I can't do this.
Some people do it. They just have segments like they like.
Yeah, it's some people, not me.
No, we wouldn't let you anyway. Good luck, Godspeed. We'd crash in.
To wrap us up a little.
Yes.
Oh yes.
This documentary is great. What do you want to see next? I mean, well, so there's the Deep Space Nine documentary.
Yeah. Well, we
love there are a lot of them.
Oh yeah, there's a Deep Space Nine. The Voyager one just came out on. I mean,
is it out?
It had its LA premiere and its New York premiere. So we can't. So this is part of why it's this is why we're watching a 10-year-old documentary instead of the Voyager documentary that just came out. But
yeah, I don't think they've said anything about distribution.
Talking about. That's why we are the premiere. No, what other? Okay, so aside from the one that just came out, what is out that I can watch that we can talk
The
about?
Center Seat
Center
is a
Seat.
series that
Captains.
goes from
How
like
many?
the Lucy beginning. I mean, what is it? It's like 8 episodes, maybe something like that. Maybe 10.
30 minutes.
I think it's an
Can
hour.
I eat it in a weekend, or I gotta?
Oh, you can eat it in a weekend. Yes.
Okay.
I went through
need
it
it.
really quick. I went through it.
I think it's on Amazon. Right.
Okay, I got that.
The Captains documentary is really good because
Mm-hmm.
Shatner again interviews all the captains, or at least all the captains up to a certain point. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Janeway
Like Chris
is the
Pine
last
is in
one.
it, and
Oh, okay, never mind.
and what's his
He's the
name is
newest.
and Scott Bakula. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
He
All
talks
right,
to
we'll
Avery
write it-
Brooks, which is
Okay.
like,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Okay, well then, so
Yes.
then we're gonna so listeners, our dear listeners, we're gonna promise you at least 2 more episodes about documentaries, and hopefully we'll still have our 4th co-host join us, so that we can keep the same intellectual property,
But
and we can compare and contrast all of the things that we're watching.
the conversation going.
Yeah, I've literally just put it on your schedule. Yep, it happened.
A quick bite that I think
Yeah.
is fun, and I just made Damien watch this last weekend. In the Netflix series "The Toys That Made Us,"
Oh, yeah.
there's a Star Trek episode that is a lot of fun.
Okay.
I love that show.
It's
Yes.
so much fun.
I want to say that we I don't remember what night. I think it was on Friday. Whatever. It was one of those nights.
Yeah.
No, it was definitely not Saturday, because Saturday
We were out late.
yeah. Well, this by now you've already heard our convention
Well, I wanna hear the
roundup probably,
story.
but yeah.
Yeah, you'll have
But
heard all about it.
we'll tell it to you after we stop recording.
Mhm.
But it is but we
Make it sound
we
silly.
came home Friday and we were kind of like beat, right?
Yeah.
And so we're like, let's just like order food and watch TV. And I was like, Mike Jones, like we never get to like sit down and watch TV together. We're never in the same physical room.
Mhm.
What do you want to put on?
Mhm.
And I don't think I've ever seen your face look so damn blank, Mike.
It's like there's so many options.
Right. And
The
after a long
pressure.
pause, he was like, it's the history of Star Trek toys, which I had never seen before and
So-
was fascinating. Because none of the early toys had anything to do with Star Trek. They just slapped a logo.
Yeah, the helmet thing. Yeah.
Yes, the helmet. Oh my God.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna watch that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
One more documentary before we go that I love. I think it's called For the Love of Spock.
Yes.
That made me cry. That's
Is that the one? The
Leonard
Adam
Nimoy's
Nimoy
son
one?
did it. Adam Nimoy
Yeah.
did it. Yeah.
That was in my queue, but I didn't
I've not
watch
watched
it.
that.
Okay.
It's good.
All right.
Watch it. It's really
Look,
good.
you're just adding to your episodes. here. You just keep
You have to come back over and over again.
What We
Look.
Left Behind is that what it's now? I get the titles confused.
That's the
between
DS. Yeah, that's the
That's
DS9
the Deep Space
one.
Nine one. Yeah.
That one was really actually
Really good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's the same people, right? Doing the Voyager doc.
I think
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
Yes, and that said, one of my favorite people who she was also in this documentary,
Mhm.
and her name is Lolita Fajo. We saw her at the convention. We saw her at both conventions we were at. She was the script supervisor, script coordinator for many years,
Mhm.
and she's done a lot of work on. So she works with the Decon Chamber podcast now, and she was one of the producers of the Deep Space Nine and now the Voyager documentary.
Okay.
And of course, I see her and I'm like, she's fascinating and a wealth of information. I'm like, how do we make friends with her? And so, of course, I start searching her name, right? Which,
Mhm.
if you search Lolita on social media, you get all sorts of child trafficking alerts.
Correct.
Oh God.
Hey.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God.
Whoa.
It's her actual name. It's her actual
What
name.
does
I
that
swear to
even
God.
mean?
Yes.
So you need to look for her full name, not just Lolita.
That's a code.
Yes.
Mhm.
Lolita is the Nabokov book about love affair with a child.
Oh God.
Gross.
Yes,
Good
gross,
thing
gross,
that-
gross.
That's not well. That's real nice to end on Amazon. My God.
We might
Mike
cut
Jones,
that out.
make it better. We never cut anything. I'm not cutting anything out.
Well, listen, I mean, it's her real name, and I'm like, oh my God, anytime anyone looks for her, do they like get red flagged for like child trafficking?
Probably.
That's
That's a shame.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
What we left
there was
behind.
Mike doesn't
What
know
we
what to
left behind.
Save us, Mike.
there was a Mike Jones on the no-fly list, so I also have been confused by mixed up with terrible people. So I will end with a good one if I can find it. There is a YouTube series that somebody made, some nerd like us, and it's
Yay.
I'm gonna say it's like 8 parts. It's like the
Mhm.
full history of Star Trek. I'm gonna find the channel. Star Trek.
Is his name Rowan Cole?
All
Something
these
like?
people were telling me to watch it.
Rowan Coleman.
Is that
Is
his
that who
name?
it is?
I need y'all.
Maybe.
Y'all love knowing people's names.
I've definitely watched his YouTube
The
long documentary
Yes,
retrospectives. Yes.
retrospective.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
really good. He's
They're
done
really good, and he's like,
Battlestar and
yeah.
other series too.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's like multiple parts. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's worth it. It's worth the time.
Yeah.
Rowan Coleman.
I put it on and like do all my little house cleaning and like just
Yeah.
put the TV really loud and like learn about the behind the scenes of everything. It's really good.
Okay.
I watch it too.
I'm in.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for talking about documentaries as we document the documentaries. I think we've now stumbled onto a whole series of shows that we're gonna have to do. So thank you for that. Eric, thank you so much for joining us and coming back.
Thank you.
I was so happy to come back. Thank you.
Come back
I love
Happy to
always.
have you.
Yes.
I love you. Bye. What am I saying? Love you guys.
It's okay. Love you. Bye.
You're like, I love you,
Love you.
bye.
Bye.
Done.
We have to like stay as long enough for us to like finish the podcast.
I'm out.
It's been a long week.
That's
I'm sorry.
amazing. Yeah, I know what you mean. All right. Well, thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed today's podcast, make sure you give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. And you know what? Tell your friends, tell your Trekkie friends. Find us on the socials at Hailing Freak Open. We're now on Blue Sky.
Oh, Blue Sky.
We're on YouTube.
You can see our
watch
faces.
the video version on YouTube. And you can find all of those links at hailingfrequenciesopen.com. And Eric, where can we find you?
You can find me on the corner of your house. I'm just standing in the room with
scant. You're like, turn around. I'm there.
You'll know him by his scant.
Open your eyes.
Hello.
No, you can find me at Anna_Rozay. You can find all of my crazy kooky content on there. I have a YouTube channel that I have sorely neglected. If you look up Anna Rozay on YouTube, you'll find me. There's a lot of stuff on there that from the back in the day. I've done some quiz videos and things like that. So if you like trivia, check those out. But yeah, Anna Rozay all the way. Find me, baby.
Rozay all day. I love it. And with that, I think we'll wrap up and say Hailing Frequencies closed.
No goodbyes. Just good memories. Hailing Frequencies closed, sir.